Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is part 1 of What If Naruto was in the X-Men. If you guys enjoy this what if, then comment, like and subscribe. Let's go. Also the video goal is 10 likes, so let me know that you're interested in the series and you want the next part. Then go ahead and check out the other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave. Also share the video with your friends and link in the description. So let's go. November 8, 2003, 2 p.m. Today I was informed by my colleague, Drive Moira McTaggart, that her patient is suited to explore the world and environment by attending my institute. Her reasonings is for him is to make friends and experiencing society away from Muir Island. During the many months on his performance of controlling his raw emotions and pleadings from Dr. McTaggart, I've finally considered allowing him to stay at the institute where I can keep eye on him and determine if he can adjust to his surroundings. The subject named is Naruto Uzumaki. He appears to be 17th in age, and from what I'd gathered he is not from this world, but a world similar of our own. A world where ninja magic is common along with mutant powers that labeled as kekkai genkai. He is scheduled to arrive here at 3 p.m. Logan is bringing him here and hopefully in one piece. Knock knock. A knocking on the door. Come in. He stopped the tape recorder and placed it inside his drawer of his desk. A young woman with long red hair entered the room. You called for me, Professor? Yes, Jean, I was considering your proposal and I'm willing to assist you in some training to become a counselor. He said calmly. How about a session? A session, right now? Professor, I do not understand. Is this about Kitty and her depression state? Jean asked with concern. No, I'm aware of Kitty's mental state and appreciate your concern for her. I am glad you and the others been keeping her company over the death of her father, but rest assured this isn't about Kitty. Today the institute will have a new arrival by name of Naruto Uzumaki. He is an interesting fellow. How interesting are we talking about? Is he a troubled mutant like Rogue? Asked Jean. The professor took the moment to reflect on what she said before answering, even considering of this person he is talking about is like Rogue. Although it may appear like that, I feel that Rogue and Naruto are different. I believed he is suffering with depression, but I do not think he is guarded like Rogue. The reason for his state is because he is not from this world. Jean looked shocked when she heard him said that. I'm sorry, did I heard that correctly? Yes, from what I've seen in his mind from the last visit I had with him at Muir Island, he is from another world and is a mutant and a shinobi, but different from us where our genetics is random. His appear to be stable, making him a mutant. From his memories there are other like him, making such a world like his interesting, but his world is a place where people profit from using their powers to dominate others. The concept of his world run on the idea apocalypse envisioned, and I want to reach out to Naruto and showed him that violence isn't the answer and to figure out how we can help him adjust to our world while we find a way to bring him back to his world. Therefore, I believe you can assist him giving your compassionate nature, Jean. Logan is bringing him here in an hour by the Blackbird. I want you and some of the others to make him feel welcome. If possible, try befriending him. Xavier said with a sad expression on his face. I will try, Professor, but I have to ask, is there a reason why you are concerned? She asked, picking up on his tone and behavior. He wasn't sent here to our world by choice. He was sent here during a deadly fight between himself and another individual. Naruto refused to mention who the other individual is, but maybe in due time he will open up more and tell us. I'm worried for the boy. I saw his memories and I saw a lot of pain and feelings of abandonment. Throughout his life the boy was used by those he considered to be his allies other than to be condemned as a scapegoat that we mutants dealt and still dealing with our whole lives. I'm not sure, but I think he has a family. I saw the image briefly, but there is a young mutant girl he thought of before closing his thoughts. So, if he is a mutant like, what can he do? She asked with a worried expression, thinking he is and went through the hatred that all mutants go through. He is, but he is much more than your average mutant. He has an entity that is sealed inside of him, a creature of pure malice, one I haven't felt since my run-in with Amal Farouk many years ago. Xavier said. But as far as his abilities are, Jean, we are still discovering what he can do. He seems to have enhanced physical strength, speed, durability, and agility, but it also appears he can what he can call jutsu. It appears to be reality-altering powers, but not on the level like Wanda can, and he also can heal but not as faster as Logan. I see. Another question, you mention Amal Farouk. Who is that, Professor? Jean asked, not recognizing the name. A twisted telepath who I had to punish many years ago. He went by the codename Shadow King and he used Aurora and her sister as thieves in Cairo when they were children. He had a far-off look when thinking about him, but enough about that. I wanted to inform you of our new arrival. I will contact you when he get here. Until then, gather up who you think will be best suited in making him feel very comfortable here at the Institute. Will do, Professor. Maybe I can bring Scott, Bobby, and Jubilee to hang around him," she said, heading toward the exit. "Before you go, Jean, there's one more thing I forgot to mention about Naruto." "And that is?" she asked in curiosity. "He comes from a clan of red hair. He's a blonde like I used to be and did not get the red hair like his clan members, so don't be surprised if he assumed you were a part of his clan. From what I saw of his memories, you nearly similar to his mother with some feature differences." He informed her on what to expect. "Okay, I'll keep that in mind, but if he from another world, can he speaks our language?" Jean asked. "It took quite some time, but yes, he can speak our language." Surprising, his native language is Japanese, or what Logan stated is a broken version of it, and judging from what I saw in his memories briefly, his world culture seems to run on the Japanese culture and traditions, with some traditions similar to our own in this country," Xavier said, informing her. Jean didn't say anything more but instead to choose to leave the room to gather a welcoming party for their new arrival. As soon as she left Professor Xavier's office, her heart started to break when she witnessed Kitty Pryde sitting on the ledge of window looking dead to the world. Jean understood too well of losing someone close. She had experienced that with her childhood friend being killed by a car, and she understood that there's nothing you can say that will make the pain go away. Jean been there and had her moment of depression, but this time around she's going to make sure no one else will suffer like she did. A thought came to her mind as she approached Kitty with a smile. "Hey Kitty, how are you feeling today?" she asked with a smile. She continued to say nothing but stared out the window. Jean wanted to feel sad and break down for the poor girl, but she strengthened her resolve and continued to press further. "I have just found out from the professor that we going to have a new arrival, and I was wondering if you want to be one of the few people to meet him and welcome him to our school." Jean asked. "I don't know," Kitty said with a sad expression on her face. "Don't be like that, and beside, he is a ninja from another world where mutants and humans coexisted," she said, watching Kitty's eyes widen a little. "Wait, what?" she said, while Jean's smile got wider knowing she had convinced her to meet him. She mentally did a thumb up to herself in her mind for her success. Currently on the Blackbird on its way to its destination. The one known as Naruto Uzumaki is currently sitting at the far end of the chair in the Blackbird while looking out the windows, watching birds flew by without a care in the world. He's wearing a black t-shirt with a cartoon black hedgehog face on it with red highlight in its spiky black hair, black jeans, and black and white sneakers. He looked like he had seen better days. The man driving the plane is none other than the man called Logan, but known to his enemies as Wolverine. "You all right back there, Fishcake?" Logan asked while giving him a nickname based off the kid's name. Naruto did not answer but instead kept quiet. "It's strange, upon meeting you, you don't strike me as the quiet lone brooder type. That is for goth kids who want to complain about how the world pushed them around and no one care if they had existed or not. You not one of them, are you? You not going to come out and say that I need to get revenge on people who made me felt like shit every day, are you now, bub?" Logan said while watching from the corner of his eyes Naruto sending a glare right at him. Logan smiled to himself knowing that there's some fight left in the kid. "If you ever need someone to trade some blows with, you can always ask to spar with me, but keep this in the back of your mind, I always hit back harder, bub. You talk too much, but maybe I'll take you up on our offer when I feel in the mood," Naruto finally said. "Ooh, the kid is finally talking. You see, it wasn't so hard, you just need to open up some more and find the strength to move. It isn't easy, kiddo, that I know firsthand, but it must be done, otherwise it will destroy you. In this world, there is always somebody who has it worse than you, believe me bub, I would know." Naruto snared when he heard him said that. "What the hell you know anyway? You know nothing about me, so stop with this act like you know the hell I'd seen," Naruto yelled at him. "It funny you say that, boy." He lifted his right arm from the steering wheel and in mere seconds his claws came out of his hands, well between his knuckles. "You see this, boy, people from a shady government did this to me and erased my memories. I don't even remember my real name or if I have any surviving family out there. All I can remember is that I'm older than I look, perhaps in my 100, but no matter how much I want to vent and be mad about what was done to me, nothing is going to give me my old life back. I can stay mad at the world all I want and probably bust some heads while I'm at it, but what good will that do other than make me feel a whole lot empty than before? Hatred is strong emotion. Sometimes we cannot truly escape our own hatred and want others to suffer. What I'm saying is don't walk down that path, it will change you and make you into a monster, believe me kid, I speak out of experience. Quote. Naruto turned away and went back to watching out the window. A part of him knowing he is right, but he couldn't help to feel empty because he feels like he has abandoned those close to him, he felt like he has abandoned her. Take a nap Spiky. Because it will be a while till we get there, and knowing Chucky will most likely have company to greet you, Logan said. Naruto paid him no mind and continued to stare out the window and reflect on a certain memory that made him angry. This is your entire fucking fault. It because of you I'm stuck in an unknown world with no means of getting back, he thought to himself. An hour later, the Blackbird is seen landing in the hangar part of the mansion, waiting for the arrival of Logan and Naruto as Professor Xavier, Drive, Henry McCoy, Jean Grey, Scott Summers, Jubilation Lee known as Jubilee, Robert, Bobby, Drake, and Catherine Ann Pride. Although the latter looked like she wanted to be anywhere but here, but Jean stood behind her with Scott by her side to make sure she wouldn't leave, not like it would do any good because she could phase through them. However, she was curious about the newcomer, and she didn't want to disappoint anyone if she chose to leave so soon. Logan came out the plane first. Hopefully, I'm in time for the game. I heard Tampa Bay is a shoo-in for the Super Bowl. Oh Logan, I've trust that our visitor is in one piece, Xavier said smiling, although the smile was faked and had a hidden message in it. Chuck, you should know me better, I didn't harm not one hair on Fishcake, Logan said with amusement. Fishcake, Charles said while everyone was wondering the same thing. However, before anyone could say anything, everybody turned their attention toward the entrance of plane. Naruto stood there looking at the people gathered. Kitty staring back at him, hazel eyes meeting blue eyes, and this would have continued further until the professor caught his attention. Good afternoon Mr. Naruto Uzumaki, I am Charles Xavier and welcome to Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters, he said, moving up to him in his wheelchair and extending out his right hand. Not having been used to physical contact by many people, he slowly accepted the handshake with his own. Thank you, I think, he said, unsure on what to make of the current situation. Xavier sensed the unsureness and decided to introduce the people present. Let me introduce you to the people here. To my right is Dr. Henry McCoy. Naruto turned his attention toward a tall blue furry man that resembles a beast ape-like man. Nice to meet you Mr. Uzumaki, but you may call me Hank for short. My code name is Beast but I'm anything but a mindless beast. You will find that I am quite intelligent. If there anything wrong with you physically, please seek me out because I am the school doctor, he said, bowing a little. Likewise, Naruto said, not sure what to make of Hank's introduction. These are some of my students. We have Jean Grey, she will be working closer with you along with me and Hank during our scheduled sessions, Xavier explained, introducing a beautiful red-headed young woman. Her appearance caused Naruto to stare intensely at her. If it wasn't for the professor briefing her on Naruto's clan she would have been offended. However, Scott did not get the briefing on the Uzumaki clan's appearance. In return he folded his arms to show he was not pleased with what he had just perceived. I'm sorry, I'm just remembering what I was told about my clan. I was informed that all Uzumaki have red hair, a trait I did not receive from my own mother but instead got my hair color from my father. He apologized, while disclosing a little on his clan. That okay, I was informed about my appearance resembling your clan. Anyway, it is nice to meet you Naruto, I'm Jean Grey but you can call me Jean. My code name is Marvel Girl, but I hardly use it half of the time, she said, extending her right hand. Naruto shook it slowly before letting her hand go. Scott stepped forward after that interaction. He wanted to push aside any misunderstanding on his part. He took the first attempt by extending his right hand. Hello Naruto, I'm Scott Summers but out in the field I am known as Cyclops. No I don't have one eyeball like an actual Cyclops, but instead I'm forced to wear these quartz shades to keep a powerful beam from emitting from my eyes. That rough, it must be a daily struggle for you having to go your entire life just seeing red all day except when you are sleeping. Naruto said, shaking Scott's hand with his own before releasing it. Hey, tell me about it, but if I didn't have good friends in my life, I would have lost it a long time ago. Scott said, earning a smile from the others but mainly Jean the most. My turn, my turn. What up, Naruto? My name is Robert Drake, but you can call me Bobby. Matter of fact, just calls me Bobby instead of Robert. The professor gave me the code name Iceman. He slapped a high five with Naruto, which earned a confused look from him. Everybody rolled their eyes on how Bobby introduced himself to Naruto without taking a subtle approach. So that mean your genkai kekkai is based on ice? Naruto asked. Bobby gave him he doesn't understand look. I'm sorry genkai what? The professor chose that moment to explain. He means mutant powers, which is another way of saying people born with special abilities. Oh, my bad, and yes, I have control over cold manipulation and able to freeze things. If I wanted to, I can turn my whole body into ice, plus I can never feel cold during the winter season or cold environment. I'm a walking air conditioner. If you want, I can show you around the school for some fun when you bored hanging around with the eggheads. He pointed his fingers at the professor, Jean, and Hank, earning an eye roll from Jean and Hank. Robert, Xavier said, not liking that comment. Bobby put a sheepish smile on his face for stepping out of turn. Sorry guys. He apologized. Last but not least is our favorite math genius, Catherine Ann Pride, but we called her Kitty. Professor Xavier said. Kitty shyly stepped forth and slowly extends her hand out to him. Naruto slowly took the petite girl hand and slowly shook it with his own. Nice to meet you, I am Naruto Uzumaki. Trying to be friendly to Kitty, who reminded of Ino mixed with Hinata. Likewise, and like you can call me Kitty too, I mean if you want to, you don't really have to, but you could. She said nervously while blushing. The others who were watching were smiling because they have noticed she was nervous and had been in a sorrow mood lately. Perhaps he will be the one to break that out of her, and in return she go back to original compassionate side and help Naruto. Naruto let go of her hand after realizing he kept holding it. In his awkwardness he turned his head to avoid looking at the girl in front of him. He did not do this to offend her because his face showed a small blush. It okay, he replied. Quote ellipsis dot. Like I'm almost forgot, the professor gave me the codename Shadowcat, I hope we be friends. She said, still blushing. Sure, I'm sorry, but what with these codenames? You told me that this is a school to help those who are different. I know you didn't lie about that. I would have been able to tell, he asked, a confused look now appearing on his face. I'm glad you asked because the codenames are to protect my students when they are out in the field. You see, I believe in a dream where mutants such as myself and few others can coexist with normal humans, but there are some people, mutants, and humans alike, who want to cause chaos through force and violence. I've formed a peacekeeper team to protect fellow mutants and humans, to teach the misguided that there is another way to bring peace without resulting to violence, and I have named this team the X-Men. Xavier explained. So, you fight for kekkai genkai rights in a world that hate fear and hate you. Naruto pointed out. That is correct, but I believe we should continue this conversation in my study where we can be more comfortable. Xavier said, gesturing everybody to follow him. Few minutes later in Xavier's office. Inside the office, Naruto is sitting in a circle with only the professor, Beast and Jean Grey present, the latter just observing the conferences. The other X-Men that have followed them are also inside the office, well except for Wolverine, who said he has just remembered he had something important to do outside the estate and took to part unknown. Naruto, since we have last met you claimed to have come from a world where mutants such ourselves are in control and live among normal people, is this true? Xavier asked. In a sense it is true, but not all nations welcome people with special gifts. The village I come from, people with special abilities are praised and respected. Naruto answered. Kitty was interested by what he said. Can you explain more on what you mean by, in a sense? Hank asked. Naruto closed his eyes, thinking to himself if he should explain a little more by telling them about the history of the Hidden Mist Village. He opened his eyes and decided not to tell them the whole story about his world but just a little information so he can observe their reactions. There are nations who fear people with kekkai genkai because they've been in longer war with them and saw the horror that brought forth with people who have special gifts. My village would embrace people like you because your abilities would be very resourceful. Now people who resemble animals and demons and act like ones would be fear and outcast, probably hunted by the population. Naruto explained, looking right at Drive McCoy and letting him know the hidden meaning. I see, so mutants with extraordinary appearances act violently and does not meet the requirements of what are considered normal or fear and hatred in your world also. Dr. McCoy said, writing down some of the information he had just heard. There are some exceptions to what is considered to be normal looking. There was a couple of people that could alter their appearances or was just born with extra body parts that I have met and fought some time in my life. I fought a man who looked like a humanoid shark with gills. He said, while his mind drifted to a time of all the people who looked different, the one standing out the most was Kisame of the Akatsuki and the Sound 4 ninjas. How were they treated? Xavier asked. To be honest, it is hard to answer that because each nation treats their people differently. If I was to guess, they probably were mistreated on a daily basis, but because they fought for their country and were a strong factor in the military branch, they most likely were respected with fear. For instance, Konoha had many legendary people to make an impact in my world. We had people like the Senju brothers and the legendary Uchiha, Hashirama and Tobirama. Senju, who was the founders of Konohagakure, was a clan based on the power of life and nature. However, it was Hashirama who believed in a world where peace can exist, that people can put aside their differences and work together as a unity. Madara Uchiha, who was a childhood friend and enemy, he believed that might and power will bring peace to the world and end all conflicts. Like any misunderstanding when it comes to two different beliefs, Hashirama and Madara turned on each other and fought each other to the death, a battle that Hashirama had won and Madara had lost his life, except Madara faked his death. Naruto said, anger in his tone. Scott flinched upon hearing that because he was reminded of Magneto views while trying to picture this Madara fellow. Jean, who was quiet up till now, had sensed that something was off with Naruto's tone. He had caused more problems for your people, didn't he? She asked, thinking of Magneto and how this Madara fellow reminded her of him. I'll go into for now, but this stay between us. I don't know if you guys ever dealt with someone who in their twisted mind believed their ways is just cause and they would have instigated certain events to prove their point just so they can have followers believe their cause. Yes, we are familiar with people who think on that mindset. Xavier quickly said, pushing his thoughts of Magneto and his actions out of his mind. From what I had gathered and understood of the situation 92 years from his battle with Hashirama, Madara manipulated one of Minato Namikaze's former students. He pulled him off to the deep end by creating fake ninjas that were disguised as enemy of Konoha at the time. Those ninjas had captured a female teammate of the manipulated male student and set it up where she got killed by the other teammate, and to make matter worse, the manipulated male known as Obito Uchiha watched his female teammate and who happened to be his crush killed by a teammate he considered his best friend rival. Obito went nuts and believed in Madara's views that the world is filled with injustice and need to be cleansed. Madara soon died, knowing Obito will find a way to bring him back to life, but younger and in his prime. Dr. McCoy cut him off. Are you telling me that this Obito fellow can bring living things back to life? Is he connected to this Senju clan? While Bobby blurted out, wait a minute, is that possible? To answer both of your questions, no, Obito doesn't have the power at the time to bring people back to life. Someone else brought Madara back to life and he was working with Obito. Second, the Uchiha and Senju clan may have been longtime enemies, but they are distant cousins due to their founders being brothers and enemies. Naruto explained. That sounds like a story for another time, for now continues with your story. Xavier assumed, folding his hands together. Yes, Obito went on to manipulate a guy and woman named Nagato and Konan of the Hidden Rain village. He did this knowing that Madara had used Nagato as a boy to implant the legendary dojutsu, the Rinnegan. The Rinnegan Eye's powers has access to a multitude of abilities, such as the potential to master all 5 basic nature transformations and the capacity to use any technique. The Rinnegan allows the user to see chakra, including the chakra points within the body, as well as otherwise invisible barriers. The Rinnegan's trademark power is the 6 Paths technique, which grants the user multiple abilities. The Diva Path can be used to attract and repel targets. The Asura Path can clad the user in mechanized armor and grant them various weapons. The Human Path can read minds, at the cost of ripping out the victim's soul. The Animal Path can summon various creatures. The Preta path can absorb any chakra-based ninjutsu and even from a person's body. The Naraka path can summon the King of Hell, which can be used for interrogation and restoration. In addition, the user is granted the outer path, which gives them control over life and death. There are other ways to bring a person back to life and they are considered dark jutsu or magic in your term, but that was the reason he wanted to control Nagato. Nagato, after losing his best friend and teammate, went from fighting in the name of peace to wanting the world to know true pain so that conflict can never happen again. He went as far controlling dead bodies for his Rinnegan while he controlled his best friend body and renamed himself Pain. Obito stood in the shadows while Pain did his bidding and put together a group called Akatsuki, which meant Red Dawn. The Akatsuki's goal was to capture nine-tailed beasts that were sealed away in human hosts and create a weapon among them to unleash upon the world, but that wasn't Obito and Madara's goal. They believed in merging all the tailed beasts into a creature called the Ten-Tailed Jubi, and using the ten-tailed powers it could casted a dreamlike illusion on everybody, making their dreams come true. However, their health will start to diminish each day under the influence of the Jubi's powers. I am one of the hosts of the tailed beasts, and yes, the Akatsuki did came after me on numerous occasions, but I kept fighting back until they were all gone, but that a story for another time. Kitty looked deeply affected by hearing as she had her hands over her mouth in shock. This is a lot to take in and I thank you for sharing this information. Hold on, Professor, there is one thing bothering me about this information. Naruto, you seem to be well adept on Obito Uchiha. What is your connection to this individual? Dr. McCoy asked, wanting to know the connection, and feeling a dirge building inside of him. Naruto closed his eyes and breath in and out, contemplating if he wanted to tell them about the connection between himself and Obito, but since he revealed so much, he figured he may as well get over with it. He opened his eyes and looked at everyone in the room with a serious look. Minato Namikaze, who later goes on to become the fourth Hokage and sealed the nine-tailed fox inside me, was my father and Obito was his student. He said calmly and quiet, but his sentence was heard and the result led to silence in the room. The people present with Naruto stood in shock. Jean was the first to react by placing her hand over her mouth to hide the small gasp noise she was making, and Charles Xavier closed his eyes while going into a thinking position, but it was Dr. McCoy that worries the two. McCoy looks the worst between the two. He seems like he's seen a ghost if the indicating on his body movement was any alarm. Oh, my star and garter, this is what to be expected for mutant kind. He said out loud in a shaky tone, alerting the people outside the room. My God, Scott said shockingly. Hank and Scott, calm down, the professor said gently. I'm sorry for my outburst, but Charles, how do you expect me to act after hearing something like this? Hank said, rubbing his forehead with his fingers. I get the feeling I will be pulling out the Jack Daniels after the end of this session. Xavier did not comment but instead turned his attention back to Naruto, who looked like he wanted to be anywhere but in the room with them. Xavier spoke. This is a disturbing piece of information. If he was one of your father's students and he changed because of his female teammate death, what was the relationship between her and him? Sigh, all I can say is that when it came to my father's students, he kept leaving them to go on solo missions because they were in a war with the Hidden Stone Village, the Hidden Cloud Village, and he was needed elsewhere. Each time he left them, they had to fend for themselves against overwhelming forces. Obito was reported killed in action, except he did not die, and he witnessed his female teammate's death a few months later after his reported death. She had happened to be his crush, but that's all I know about that. Look, he is that type of person I'm not ready to talk about because of his actions toward my world. With that said, are we done here because I'm feeling very tired, and I want to rest? Sigh, yes Naruto, we are done here. Jean, will you accompany Mr. Uzumaki to Kurt's room? I want you to introduce him to Kurt. Tell Kurt that Naruto is his new roommate. Xavier said to Jean. Of course, Professor, follow me Naruto, I'll introduce you to one of our jokesters here at the school. Jean said while walking out the room with Naruto. Once they left the room and closed the door behind them, Hank looked toward Xavier with a discomforting look while everybody among else were talking among each other, trying to comprehend what they heard, while Kitty stared at Naruto with a sad look. Charles, his world, judging from what we have gathered today, it seems his world is the mirror image of what we fear could happen if the wrong types of people were to exploit mutants for their abilities. Hank said, struggling. Yes, old friend, even in a world where mutants and humans coexisted there is still conflicts except it appears mutants are against each other. I'm not going to lie to you, this does make me want to reevaluate my dream and how to go about it. However, I'm not giving up on my dream. I know it is possible for a world where mutants and humans can coexist without any conflict from either side. But in order to achieve that dream, the X-Men must be ready to handle all type of problems, not just mutants' problems. We must be able to show the public what we are about and what we're fighting for, and not just by knocking some sense into others who wished to do enormous damage. We need to advocate our beliefs and teachings to other humans and mutants, in hope that we educate more people to our cause. Hank said. Yes, you are right, which why I have been in thought for quite some time on using the other half of my family's fortune to build public services for humans and mutants. Since my identity has been revealed to the world by Magneto's action, I've been meaning to make a press conference about me being a mutant. Xavier said. Charles, you really sure you want to go down that road so soon? Hank asked with concern in his tone. In order to have people to trust the X-Men in my dream, I need to be willing to do my part and come forth that I am a mutant so that both populations can understand what is at stake. Hank, I understand your concerns, but this must be done. I have been silenced for too long. Plus the other students will be glad to hear that we will be helping both populations very soon. If you feel you must do this, then I will stand by your side, and so will the rest of the X-Men. Hank said. Thank you, my friend, that's all I could ever ask for. Xavier said with a smile. With Naruto. After saying their goodbye to each other, we find Naruto and Jean inside Kurt Wagner's room. Naruto Uzumaki, this is Kurt Wagner aka Nightcrawler. Jean said with a smile. I cannot write in German, so anything Kurt say is with an accent. Also this imply to other characters with an accent. I may have Gambit speak with the Cajun accent. Hello Naruto, I am Kurt Wagner, but you may call me Kurt. So, you're the Buzz I have been hearing about around the school. He said, waving his hand in a hello gesture. Yeah, he said, a little startled by Kurt's appearance. Wait a second, how would know about Naruto so quickly? Jean asked while folding her arms in a mother-like manner. Kurt scratched the back of his head while smiling a little. Jean, you know how fast news travel, plus Bobby was able to tell me quickly before he went to go meet with him. I'll deal with Bobby later, but right now Kurt, Naruto is from another world where humans and mutants live together. Professor Xavier entrusted you with him as your roommate. Try to make him feel comfortable and show him around the school when you can. Jean said. Sure thing Jean, you can count on the fuzzy one. Also, Kurt, try becoming his friend. But take it slowly. Naruto had been through so much in his life where trust is an issue for him, so I was informed, and from my understanding he holds that in high regard. Jean used her telepathic power to relay the message to him. What has happened to him? I'm not allowed to say, but maybe in time he will share his past with you. For now, don't push him too far, and remember he may not look it, but he is a mutant ninja. The world he comes from is based on the culture of ninjutsu, so be very cautious. Jean said, ending the telepathic conversion between her and Kurt. Anyway, Naruto, you're in good hands, and if you need me for any assistance that is within my power, I'm 2 doors down and I share a room with a new student, Monet Street. Croy. So be mindful when coming over to my room, Monet can be a little prim donna. Kurt finished for Jean. Not the word I was looking for, but yes, her childhood has consisted of pompous and a rich girl lifestyle. From what I understand, she is the favored child of her father and his prestigious position as the Monegasque ambassador to France. Jean explained. Sue, she thinks she is a princess, and everyone is beneath her. She sounds like she uses her father's fame to make herself sound essential and probably thinks she knows everything, a know-it-all. Naruto said while thinking of a particular person back on his world. Kurt burst out laughing while holding his side. Wow, you are being too nice Naruto, but yeah, I like that you called her a know-it-all. Hey Jean, maybe we could tell the professor that should be Monet's codename instead of M. Jean rolled her eyes but couldn't help to smirk at the idea. Yes, Naruto, she acts like that, but I believe that a mask she is wearing. From what I understand, she never had any real friends except for her father and little twin sisters. Just try not to judge her too quickly, she might surprise you if you happen to meet her around the school. Jean said to Naruto. Anyway, I need to go see the professor again before I hunt down Bobby and give him a lecture he will never forget. She said with a smile that promised trouble for one Robert Drake. Jean left the two to their own devices. Kurt walked over to his television and picked up two video game controllers. He handed one to Naruto, who looked at it like it was the most interesting thing in the world. "What is this?" Naruto asked, unsure on what he is looking at in his hands. "No way, tell me you are kidding," Kurt asked with a shocked look on his face. "No, I am not kidding. What is this you gave me?" Naruto asked, holding it up and examining the controller and its cord. "What a Sony, and what is this symbol on the middle?" "Only the greatest thing to have come out in the gaming world. Please tell me you have video games from where you come from," Kurt asked. Naruto looked at Kurt with an annoyed look. Kurt realized that he may have gone too far. "Look, I didn't mean it like that. These are controllers to a video game console called Sony PlayStation 2, and it's one of the main hypes for today's generation. I just figure you wanted to relax and play some fighting games with me. I have a game called Tekken 4 and I wanted to know if you play that game." But I kind of don't feel like in the mood to play any video games," Naruto said, trying to hand the controller back to Kurt. "Come on Naruto, just try one game with me, and if you don't like it then I will leave you alone. How that sound to you?" Kurt asked while smiling. "Sigh, fine, but just one game," Naruto said. With Kitty. Kitty is walking back to her room with a plate of a turkey sandwich and glass of water. She was lost in her own thoughts of meeting Naruto and learning certain things about him and his world. "What is wrong with me? Why did I have to act like that in front of him? I mean, he is cute looking, but I shouldn't have acted like that around him. It isn't like I'm falling for him or anything, so what is wrong with me? Maybe I feel sorry for him because of the life he lived so far." Her thoughts were interrupted when she bumped right into someone she was least suspecting and blocking her way into her room. She looked up and saw Gambit as the culprit, that blocking her way with his back turned toward her. "Oh, excuse me petite, I didn't notice you were there," he said with his head cocked back at her with a smile. "Why are you standing here and blocking my way?" "A matter of fact, I think I could guess what the answer is," she said while annoyed in knowing the answer. "Oh, I'm just enjoying the view of true art," he said, smiling and turning his attention back to what he was watching. "More like he is being a pain in my ass right now and won't leave me alone," a voice said from inside of the room. Kitty shook her head a little because this is a normal routine for her to see Remy hanging around her room because of her roommate. Normally she would keep to herself and say nothing regarding the issue, but this time she wanted to rile things up a little. She started to smirk as she phased through him with her lunch in her hands and walked over toward her bed. "Ah Rogue, don't be a negative Nancy. I think it is cute that your boyfriend wants to spend time with you," she said jokingly, but Rogue was not amused, although her face did turn redder for a second. Remy, still smirking, could not help but found her blushing face to be amusing. He really cares for Rogue and was not ashamed to show people how much he adores her. Rogue got up embarrassed and walked toward Gambit. She grabbed the doorknob to the door. "Okay, you've outstayed your welcome today. Time for you to go, swamp rat," she said, nearly closing the door, but he kept his foot in place to keep the door from closing. "Ah Rogue, how about a quick kiss on the lip before I go?" he said, smirking. "Not even funny. Get, I say," she said, trying to close the door. "I see I have offended my beautiful lady, and for that I apologized. If you would be so kind to accept my apology, I will make it up to you by taking you out to that small soul food restaurant you adored so much. What do you say, Cher?" Gambit asked, kissing her gloved hand and looking back at her. Rogue briefly looked at a smirking Kitty before mumbling a little. "I'm sorry Rogue, I don't think Remy caught what you said. I don't think Ant-Man could have heard what you just said now," Kitty said. Rogue rolled her eyes and turned her attention back to Gambit. "Fine, but at 7 p.m. and no funny business, mister." "Why Cher, I am hurt. Are you implying that I'm some playboy who takes advantage of a beautiful lady?" he said with a fake hurt look on his face. "All right Romeo, time to go, and I'm not going to dignify that with an answer," she said, finally able to remove his foot and quickly closing the door. "Ah, he's such a charmer. You got your work cut out for you with that catch," Kitty said, holding in her laughter but snickering a little. "No, I don't, because that boy is the devil in human skin. His words are too smooth like butter, but that isn't any of your business. With you joking on me, I'm guessing you feeling a little bit better now." "A little, like I'm still saddened by my father's death," and it pains me that there is nothing I could do that can resolve it. I hate feeling powerless, but I'm coming to terms with this little by little. I have been speaking to the professor whenever I can and you guys been trying your best to cheer me up, which I thank you guys for being my best friends and being there, but I don't know how to move on from this. Just yet, Kitty said, now sitting on her bed with her legs crossed. What about your mother, have you spoken to her? Rogue asked. Occasionally I have spoken to her, and she is just as tore up like me. My mom wanted me to come home so we can talk about my dad. I've been meaning to give her my answer. It's going to be a yes, but I don't know if I can give a speech at my father's funeral just yet. She said, picking at her sandwich while feeling down. When is the funeral, if you don't mind me for asking? Rogue asked, now sitting down next to Kitty. Next month on the 4th. Kitty replied. And Lance, have you spoken with him even though you two have broken up? Rogue asked. I did, but he barely had much to say. I swear there are days when he doesn't understand what I'm going through. At least you have Remy to comfort you when you are feeling down. Jean and Scott have each other for support, but no, he is too busy playing around with his Brotherhood teammates. Lately I've been asking myself if why bother thinking of giving him a second chance. Kitty said, taking a bite into her sandwich. Maybe it is for the best that you two see different people or enjoy some time apart. Rogue advised. Speaking of change, tell me everything about this newcomer, the one called Naruto, I think that his name. Let me guess, Bobby running around telling everyone about him, am I right? Kitty asked. Yep, so tell me what you know already. What there to tell? He is a new student here at Xavier, or at least that what I have gathered. From what I was told, he comes from a world where Professor Xavier's dream existed. Kitty explained. Boot. Rogue said, knowing there was more. His world is based off the culture of Japan and apparently he is from a village full of ninjas. The professor has been seeing him for months at that island, Muir Island I believed it was called. Muir Island. Isn't that the island where Rani's adopted mother lived at and she is a doctor that studied up on mutation? Rogue interjected. Yep, drive. Moria McTaggart. Anyway, Naruto Uzumaki is rooming with Kurt and I'm pretty sure Jean going to ask Kurt to show him around the school. Kitty said with a disappointed look on her face, a look Rogue caught. But, he comes from a world that is questionable for my taste, even though it is a world where mutants and humans coexist together, there is still some conflict involving mutants against mutants, and he, Naruto, has a very sad past. I think you should meet with him, he kinds of remind me of you a little. Rogue understood what Kitty was saying as she watches the sad expression on the petite girl face, but then smirked to herself and decided at that moment to get her revenge on Kitty for teasing her in front of Remy. So, how does he look? He is about Scott's height, blonde spiky hair, these beautiful blue eyes, and get this, he has these cute whisker marks on his face. I mean, they aren't really whiskers, but from far away they look like whiskers. He kind of have an accent, but that to be expected if the intel on him is correct, but that pretty much it. He is quite a looker, but I don't know if he is here as a new member for the X-Men. That is something I want to ask the professor when I get the chance to. She finished saying while blushing a little bit. Rogue burst out laughing. Kitty looked at her and was trying to figure out why her roommate is laughing. Rogue laughed for a few good seconds before calming down and wiping away a small tear. Okay, I get it now, but tell me, is he slim, fat, or very muscular? She asked with a devilish smile. Oh, he not fat or slim, but he is between average and muscular. Wait a minute. She finally understood what Rogue is doing. It not like that. She said, embarrassed. It not likes what? Rogue asked while acting innocent. Oh, you're slick and evil, you're getting back at me because of the teasing a few minutes ago. She said with her face clearly red. Maybe, Rogue said smiling. Back with Naruto and Kurt. You know, for a person who wanted to play one game, you sure are into this more than I can hope for. Kurt said smiling. Oh, shut up and play already. I'm not losing again to that emo with the duck butt hairstyle. Naruto said, picking Paul Phoenix against Kurt's Jin Kazama. Oh, my friend, this will be good, and in time you will be able to play with that character. Kurt said while pointing out that Naruto need more practice with Paul Phoenix. Hey, at least I have gotten the hang with Warang easily. My friend, Warang is an easy character to master. You want real skills with a character, you should use the following characters and learn how to play with them. Xiao Yu, Paul, Yoshimitsu, King, Jin and Brian Fury are characters you want to master. In my opinion they are tough but also worth the effort to master, and that my friend was game, I win once again. Naruto put the controller down gently and folded his arms together. I don't like that Jin character, and I hope he lives a lonely life. Naruto said. I highly doubt he will be alone much longer, he does have an unofficial girlfriend and that is Xiaoyu. Kurt said, laughing a little at Naruto's behavior. The emo guys with the duck butt hairstyle always do get the girls, it can be so cruel at times and disheartening, Naruto said, shaking his head and remembering a certain someone. Well, I don't know about the duck butt part, but you are right about certain types of guys that get all the women. Unfortunately, we have that here in Xavier. If you don't believe me, seek out Remy LeBeau, Warren Worthington, and Peter Rasputin. They are the handsome men of Xavier and mostly every girl wants them, except Remy and Peter are in a relationship already, Remy dating my sister Rogue, I think, and Peter dating Monet. Someone can actually tolerate her, let alone date her? Naruto asked. Peter has patience, a lot of patience when it comes to female in general. He may look intimidated, but he is a nice guy when you get to know him, and he is quite the painter. I think that why Monet likes him is because he is a patience guy and an artist, but that what I'm assuming. Listen Naruto, if you ever meet Monet, no matter how much she pushes your buttons and she will, my friend, do not pick a fight with her, because she isn't like any normal mutants around here. Kurt warned him. Why? What are her kekkai genkai? Naruto asked with a questioning look. Kekkai genkai. Yua, what is that? Kurt asked with a confused look. Naruto rubbed the back of his head in an embarrassment-like manner. He had completely forgotten that not many people here would know what the term kekkai genkai means. Sorry, kekkai genkai means abilities passed down genetically within specific people or clan. So, your people have a nicer term than calling it mutant powers. I'm sorry, but what do you call people with these kekkai genkai? People, just people. Back at my world, a person was only categorized by their powers or techniques and the clans they come from. For example, let's say you and or another family member had the same powers. By the way, what is your kekkai genkai? I can teleport and climb up on wall, particular sticking to it like a spider. However, I have to picture where I'm teleporting, otherwise, I can materialize into a wall, and also I can't teleport for long distance. I mean I could, but it'd be too tiring. What wrong? He explained, but noticed the shock look on Naruto before it disappeared. Nothing, you just reminded me of someone with that ability, but moving on, Yuen. Your family would be known as a clan and the name of your clan would be called the Wagner clan. Kurt rubbed his chin with his fingers and nodded his head in approval. I think I can live with that, but Rogue wouldn't go for it. Why? Naruto asked. Yeah, she my big sis, but she was adopted, but she is still family to me. You might see her soon, and let me tell you, she can be a bit of a wild child. Also, she wears a lot of goth clothing, and you have to be careful around her because she has no control over her powers. He said with a sad look. So, if she adopted, then what are her powers? She has the ability to absorb people's life force with their memories and powers if they have any. Her power is always on activate and it works through skin contact, that's why I said you must be careful around her. She may come off as an antisocial problem child, but she means well in her own way, and once she warmed up to you, she is willing to give up her life in order to protect her loved ones. Naruto looked down for a moment and whispered to himself, she sounds like Gaara. Huh, what was that? Kurt asked, hearing something from Naruto. Naruto shook his head in response, nothing, just thinking out loud to myself. Kurt figured there was more to what Naruto is leading on, but for now he did not press the matter any further. Sigh, sorry for jumping off the topic. As for Monet, her powers are particularly of many. She has possessing superhuman strength capable of lifting automobiles and snapping streetlights with ease, as well as superhuman physical attributes like invulnerability, agility, dexterity, speed, reflexes and reactions, coordination, and balance. Dr. McCoy stated that Monet possesses a superior excellent rating in all human physical categories. She is virtually invulnerable, at least enough to withstand common firearms at long range and direct blows of the vastly more powerful Hulk, and even has a healing factor, allowing her to heal and recover from wounds much faster. Her healing factor also makes her more resistant to toxins and disease, and possibly also the aging process. However, it seems that her invulnerability is psionic to some extent. Monet also possesses telescopic and night vision as well as superhuman acute hearing, and it is possible her other senses are also enhanced. She has perfect memory and superhuman intuitive skills. In addition, she also a telepath with the ability to read minds, projects her thoughts into the minds of others, and defensively masks her mind against telepathic intrusion. She has limited offensive capabilities, such as mind control and the ability to manipulate the memory of others. The range of her telepathy is generally limited to within a few feet of her person. Furthermore, Monet also can view mutant auras. Oh, and one more thing, she formidable in hand-to-hand combat and is of genius-level intellect. It is unknown whether her mutations adhere to her intelligence, well that what Professor Xavier and Dr. McCoy explained to us. That was too much information, but she sounds like some type of secret weapon. I can see why you said don't pick a fight with her, but if she doesn't piss me off too well then there shouldn't be any problems. Well, I hope not. Anyway, do you want to get something to eat, because I'm starving and this would be the perfect timing to show you around, so what do you say? Kurt said, now standing up and turning off the PlayStation 2. Yeah, I'm kind of hungry myself. Lead the way, Kurt-san, he said, following Kurt out the room. Somewhere in Los Angeles, a mutant teenage girl is seen running across the railroad trying to catch a moving train. This poor girl looked like a bat out of hell and in hot pursuit as a man carrying a harpoon. Come on Tommy, you got to catch this train before he catches me. Just a little further. Oh, Richard, please forgive me for being a coward and not giving you the gun instead of running away, she said with tears running down her face. The man chasing after her threw his harpoon a few inches near her, missing her on purpose like it's some type of a game. The girl now identifies as Tommy started running faster as she noticed she almost got impaled. As she got closer to the train, she started to use her powers to become a two-dimension being. She quickly slid her through the crack of the closed door while nearly dodging the last harpoon that was aimed for her neck. The man chasing after her stopped his haste and smiled. He had placed his fingers at his left ear and touched a button. This is Harpoon. Birdie is heading back to New York, awaiting further orders. Copy that, Harpoon. I will let the master know, over and out. Roger that, he said while turning the other way and walking away while whistling a tune. Back with Naruto and Kurt. Right here we have the living room. This is where we can kick back and watch some television. Mostly you find Bobby or Jubilee. Speak of the devil, hey Jubilee, come here for a second. Kurt called out to her. Jubilee turned her head toward the person who called her. She got up from the couch and head toward Kurt and Naruto. Jubilee, this is Naruto. Yeah, I have heard about him through Bobby. Nice to meet you. My name is Jubilation Lee, but you may call me Jubilee for short. She interjected with her full attention on him. Hello, Naruto said. Jubilee turned her attention back to Kurt. So I take it that you are showing him around the school. You may want to stay away from the backyard garden. Why so? Kurt asked. Because Ms. She thinks she knows everything is out back with Peter. Apparently, he is making a painting of her and she is being a bitch and demanding too much. Jube, Kurt said with a worried tone in his voice. What? I have every right not to care for her. You should have her as a roommate and tell me how you would feel being around her. Especially nearly for 24 hours, and tell me you won't feel some type of way about her. She said, crossing her arms in anger. Maybe this is worth checking it out. Naruto said, curious about meeting her. You will be sorry, but if you want to meet her, have Kurt take you out back. Matter of fact, I will join you too because I would love to see your reaction to Miss Everybody is beneath me and need to kiss my ass. How about it's Naruto, you want to meet her and get the introduction out of the way. Plus, you get to meet Peter Rasputin, which I'm sure he is with her. Sure, Kurt-san, I don't see the harm in meeting her. Naruto said, while Jubilee was mouthing, you'll be sorry look. Okay, you two just grab my hands and we'll be in the backyard in mere seconds. Kurt extended his hands. Both Jubilee and Naruto have grabbed his hands, and before neither one can say anything, all three of them has teleported out of the room. At the garden in backyard. Da Monet, keep that pose for a few seconds. A Russian teenage boy said while painting the girl before him. In front of him with an irritated look across her face is Monet Yvette Clarice Maria Therese Street. Croix, people called her Monet for short, Xavier called her M and Jubilee called her everything that isn't so nice. God's gift to men, that's how Monet Street. Croix sees herself and every time she glances in the mirror. Although she does have a severe vanity complex, Monet does have a right to brag. Monet may be 17 years of age, but already many model industries have called her parents asking her to work for them. Monet stands at the reasonable height of 5 feet 7, whose body weight is a nicely rounded 127, most of it being well-toned muscles in her arms and legs. Monet being Bosnian means she has darker skin than most, almost a light cocoa-colored skin template, while her hair is an ebon dark like the starless sky. She often wears her black mid-back length hair down, opting that it looks far better that way. Monet's body type is a sleek slender model, meaning though she appears skinny, she is well toned in her legs and arms while keeping enough fat in all the right places. Her female body structure is that of a thin hourglass. Monet has dark brown, alluring, some would even say hypnotic eyes with a soft natural ruby red lip that just brings the package together. Monet has the type of smile that can make a guy quake in his knees and a look that could melt him in his spot. However, her personality is in need of a makeover. I know what I'm doing, I have done this countless of time before you even knew how to color, she said, clearly irritated. BAMF. Kurt, Jubilee and Naruto appear right in front of Monet, blocking Peter's view of Monet and irritating Monet further. Kurt has approached Peter, who placed his art equipment down the moment Kurt started moving toward him. Hey Pete, how is it hanging? Kurt asked while being friendly. Nah, I am fine. Me and Monet was engaging in some art activity. Everything was magnificent until your presences disturb our session. Back from where I'm from, such disobedient would have been with and dealt with accordingly, Monet said, folding his arms together and tapping her fingers in irritation. Kurt rubbed the back of his head while smiling sheepishly. Sorry about that, Em. Would you mind not calling me that? Just because Professor Xavier called me that do not mean I will stand here and accept you being familiar with me, am I clear? Before Kurt or even Naruto could respond, who was watching the whole ordeal happen, Jubilee had enough. Would stop being a bitchy princess for once. He was trying to be nice to you, and this how you talk to him. You know if you keep this up you not going to have any friends other than Peter here, so drop this spoiled princess routine for once. Jubilation Lee. How dare you speak to me in that matter? Monet yelled while she walked up to her, Kurt teleporting in between the two, trying to get them stop arguing any further, with Peter trying to assist Kurt. Naruto stood back and watched the arguing continuing further. She is like me and Gaara. She acts like this in order to cover up the pain of loneliness, and this girl Jubilee does not see beneath the underneath. Can this world be just like my world? No, even if this world is somewhat similar to my world, I cannot get too comfortable staying here. I have to find a way to contact Katsumi and let her know I'm okay. I must find a way to get back to my own world. If only the fuzzball inside of me talked to me instead of staying quiet, and I have tried summoning the toads and still nothing. That Monet girl is looking right at me. Hey, I'm still talking to you, Jubilee said while she noticed Monet isn't paying any attention. So, you are the one that clown kept running around and talking about. Where are you from? Monet asked. He said nothing but folded his arms, but Monet did not like that. Fine, you leave me no choice, I have ways in making people talk, Monet said, getting ready to use her telepathy. It must be painful, he said, getting Monet attention. Putting on a fake mask and pushing people away because you don't have any close friends. What you just said? Monet stepped back startled. I know the feeling, but pushing people away can lead you down a further dark road where you may never come back from. You should try opening up more, because having those precious to you can give you strength to make it through the day. Kurt, I meet you back at the room, he said, walking away and back inside the mansion. Hey Kurt, Peter, what do you think that was all about? Jubilee asked with a confused look. I do not know, Kurt said, wondering the same thing that Jubilee and Peter were thinking, except for Monet. Monet kept quiet and watched Naruto left the area. Back inside the mansion at living room. Naruto walked inside the living room of the mansion and found two people there, one he recognized from before and another he never met. The two turned their attention toward him as he quickly turned around and began to walk away. Wait, you don't have to leave, like the living room is big enough to house more people in it, Kitty said, trying to get him to stay. I was just exploring around and did not mean to intrude. I leave you and your friend alone. Before he could walk, he felt someone grabbing his arm and preventing from him leaving the room. He turned back and saw it Kitty holding his arm with a pleading look across her face. Naruto could not help but wondered how she got from her seat on the couch to where he was at. Naruto stared at Kitty while she did the same, both lose in their own thoughts. Whatever was going to happen next came to an end when the other person coughs to get both of their attention. "Am I interrupting anything?" the person said with a little humor in her voice while Kitty gave her a hard glare. "Sorry about that, but please don't leave so soon because me and Rogue could use the company," she said with a pleading tone while letting him go. "Rogue, as in Kurt's sister that he told me about?" Naruto asked. "I see my fuzzy little brother is talking about me. What did my annoying little brother said to you about me?" Rogue asked from her seat. "Nothing much, that you are his adopted sister," Naruto said, not trying to get Kurt into any trouble. Rogue gave him a puzzled look and he knew in that moment she wasn't buying it. "Look, I'm not trying to get him into any more trouble, but he told me what you could do with your powers and that you dressed goth and you bit of a wild child, but you mean well, especially when your friend's life are in danger. Kurt means well and he clearly cares for you as a brother, which is something I can relate to when it comes to siblings." Kitty laughed a little, not at Naruto but at Rogue. "Oh, lighten up, Rogue. Kurt is sweet, and he wants to make sure his big sister is cared for, so give him a break." "Ha ha ha ha. I swear he is very annoying, but family is family. Naruto is it. Do you have any brothers or sisters from where you come from?" she asked Naruto, which he smirked back in return before answering. "I do. I have a little special pain in the butt, people who are close to me who probably worried sick that I'm not around, it why I'm hoping I can get back to my world." "Now I'm curious, are you too, Kitty?" Rogue asked Kitty. Yep, I'm curious too. Do you have a little sister, or a brother?" "Some of other time until I'm feeling able to talk about them," Naruto said, trying to change the subject. "Hey, it okays, you don't have to answer that question, come and sit with us," Kitty said, understanding he is not ready to talk about it. She grabbed Naruto's hands and led him to cough against his better judgment. She sat Naruto in the middle of the cough with Rogue sitting on his left while she took his right side. "You must forgive Rogue, at times she could say something that goes a little too far." Kitty apologized on her friend's behalf while Rogue shrugged her shoulders in response. "Sorry, it my own fault, I'm just loose in my own thoughts," Naruto said, feeling uneasy sitting next to two girls that took an interest in him. Never in wildest dream he would thought he could have gotten two beautiful girls' attention. He felt like it more of Tatsumi styles when it comes to the ladies. He started to think more of his cousin from his mother's side of the family and was praying that he got Katsumi away from Konoha, the village that gave him hell, all because they could not accept what he had sealed inside of him. Well, to be fair, not everybody in Konoha hated him. He thought of the ramen chef and his daughter, Ruruka, Kakashi to his annoyance of the man, Tsunade, Rock Lee, Tenten, and Might Guy, while praying that they were okay after winning the war. However, his thoughts came to an end when he saw Kitty and Rogue looking at him with a worry look on her face when he wasn't responding to her. "Sorry, you too, Rogue-san, is that really your name? Because it sounds like a fake name to me," Naruto asked. "Hey, he is right, you never told us your real name," Kitty said, agreeing with Naruto. "You guys never asked before, so there was no point of me giving out my real name," Rogue said. "Sue, what is your real name?" Kitty asked with a smile on her face. "I'll never tell you guys," Rogue said with an amused look. That is so unfair, right, Naruto?" Kitty asked Naruto with a small pout on her face. "I guess so," Naruto said, unsure of what he is saying. "Anyway, Naruto, what it like on Muir Island research facility?" Rogue asked him in hope of getting him to open more. "Quiet and boring. That doctor, Moira McTaggart, she kept wanting to perform some test while your so-called Professor Xavier would come by and asked a couple of questions," Naruto said with an annoyed look on his face. "What type of questions?" Kitty asked him, but he did not answer her back. Flashback, a couple months back on Muir Island research facility. "You said that your name is Naruto Uzumaki and that you do not belong here. You have informed us that you come from a world where people can use chakra. How did you end up here?" Professor Xavier asked him. Naruto said nothing but stared at the floor from where he was sitting at. His facial expression betrayed no emotion. "Are there more people that came with you, or are you the only one that came to this world?" Naruto said nothing. "Please, we are trying to help you, but we cannot help you if you won't help us," Xavier said with a pleading tone. Sigh, Charles, my friend, you need to give him some time. He has been like that with me and Sean, but we did not give up and we let him do things at his own pace. I supposed you were right, but I will keep visiting him. I want to earn his truth on my own and not with the use of my telepathy. Xavier said, leaving Naruto in the room with Moira by his side. Charles, when we first found him, he was in worse condition. So far, we are trying to teach him English because the only language he seemed to know is Japanese, but he's not from Japan. All we were able to get out of him is his name and where he from. Moira said, walking down the hallway and out of Naruto's range of hearing. I must get back, I need to know what has happened. End of flashback. Both females were looking at him and wondering if he was alright because he did not say anything, but before neither one of them can say anything, another presence was heard in the room. Hey Rogue, hey Kitty. A young blonde handsome man wearing a red and blue costume with white bird-like wings said while entering the room. Oh, hey Warren, where are you going and why are you in your uniform? Rogue asked. I'm heading into New York City to do some crime fighting, he said looking at Naruto. And you are? From where I'm from, it is common for one to introduce themselves first before giving out his or her name. Naruto said. Fair enough, my name is Warren Worthington III, heir to the Worthington Industrial, and my code is Angel. Angel said, extending out his hand for a handshake. Uzumaki Naruto, but you can call me Naruto. He slowly accepted Angel's hand in a handshake. It must be tough having to fight crime nearly every day, Rogue said, gaining his Angel's attention. At times it can be stressful, but I don't do this because I want to or because I believed it's something to do with fame. I do this because I was born with my special gift, and I cannot stay to see innocent people become victims of cruelty and injustice. We're supposed to be a group of superheroes, but instead of going out there and proving to public that we are here to protect the innocent, instead we wait till the danger come to us. Warren explained while walking toward a painting with his back turned toward the others. You actually right, I remember Scott saying the same thing, but Kitty tried finishing saying but was interrupted by Rogue, but the professor shot that idea down fast. I'm not going to lie, a part of me wonder why he won't let us go out there and do our part to help. I have been advocating for us to do some hero work not only for mutants but also non-mutants, but the professor keep evading my request. I'm starting to think that this was a bad idea in joining this team. The old man doesn't want you guys going out in the world to help others. Naruto asked. It's hard to say, he wants to prove that mutants and humans can coexist together, but I remember a time when me, Kurt and Scott have saved a school bus with children from a car nearly crashing on top of them, and the professor freaked out about us being exposed as mutants to world. Kitty said. Were you guys exposed as mutants? Naruto asked Kitty, unsure on why these people keep referring to themselves as mutants. Back from where he comes from, he could never have called one of the great clan from Konoha a mutant, such word would have guaranteed a conflict. Naruto just could not figure out why these people would give themselves such a degrading title. A part of him reminded him of the demon of the mist and how he has embraced his title, but if that is the case, why try to prove yourself to a world that fear and hate you shouldn't only those you care about matter? Yeah, but not because of that incident, more like Magneto had make sure the whole world knew about us. Kitty answered back. Who is this Magneto and what has he done to expose you guys? Naruto asked Kitty. Boy, you have a lot of questions for one we do not know so much about. Rogue said in response. Rogue, Kitty said in a scorning tone. I'm afraid Petite, Cher is right. Gambit said while entering the room. Naruto and everybody else turned their attention toward him. Naruto took notice of Gambit's appearance, from the matter how he speaks to his appearance. Naruto's eyes widened in fear, and everyone noticed his reaction. He slowly gotten up from his seat and was approaching Gambit. Gambit stared at him with caution and was slowly reaching for his cards in coat pocket. Before anything could happen, both females gotten in between two males to make sure whatever was happening would not escalate. Warren watched closely to see if Naruto was going to pose a threat to his friends. He may not like Gambit, but he does consider him a teammate, so if a fight was to break out, he will step in and resolve the situation quickly as possible. Your eyes, Naruto said with hatred in his tone. Gambit kept studying Naruto's behavior. Your eyes, Naruto said once again with Kitty trying to hold him back. What about my eyes, Whiskers boy? Gambit asked, not liking that the new guy he kept hearing about talk and behaved strangely to him. Naruto said nothing but stared more closely into Gambit's eyes and noticed that there is some similarity to the Sharingan. But the eyes are not the Sharingan. Sorry, it just I know some people with eyes likes your own, except they were not good people, sorry for offending you. Apology accepted, share let leave now so we can get some good seat. Gambit ushering Rogue out the room with him, yeah sure, sees you guys later. Well, this was interesting turn of event. Warren said trying to lighten the mood. In an unknown location, a man wearing a silver armor while carrying a semi-auto rifle across his back is seen walking down a long dark corridor. This man reached the end of the corridor and gently opens the door. He walked into room and took a few steps toward the center of room before kneeling down on his knees. A figure is seen on the opposite side from this man, sitting down and staring at him with little of interest. The figure nodded his head and the man before him began to speak. Master, we have received a message from Harpoon. He is currently tracking one of the Morlocks. He reported she is heading back to New York from Los Angeles. We believed she is heading back to the Morlocks. My master, what are your commands? The man said, gather the rest of the Marauders, make contact with Harpoon and follow that mutant until she led you back to the rest of the Morlocks. Your will is my command, master. The man said while getting up and began to walk away. Scalfunter, wait. The man now known as Scalfunter turned around in response, yes master. Sabretooth, show yourself. The door opens up and the X-Men greatest enemy, Victor Creed, better yet known as Sabretooth, has entered the room, but he did not kneel and that behavior irritated Scalfunter. Master, I never questioned your judgment, but I know this man for a long time, and he can never be trusted. Scalfunter said while Sabretooth was smirking at him. I missed you too, Greycrow. When was the last time we fought side by side? Ah yes, Vietnam. It was me, you, Fox, Jean-Luc, and Philippa. You still mad that I have gutted you back then? Scalfunter pulled a couple of metals from his armor and constructed the metals into silver modified rifle. Sabretooth growled in amusement and gotten into a fighting stance. I trusted you during our secret mission back then and you turned on me and Philippa the moment we were losing the war. If it wasn't for my healing factor, I would have been dead. So, what is Philippa excuse for being alive and still looking young to this day? Oh waits, she is going by the codename Arclight these days. Sabretooth taunted him. You son of bitch. Scalfunter yelled, readying his gun. Enough. Both men stopped and looked toward the figure. Scalfunter quickly kneeled. Forgiveness. Master, please forgive me, I have embarrassed you and I'm willing to accept my punishment. Scalfunter pleaded. Put aside your hatred, you two works for me and you two will work together no matter the cost. Sabretooth, you have two agenda. One, you will be the team tracker in locating the rest of Morlocks once you have met up with Harpoon, and the second agenda is to make sure Magneto does not know about his daughter. He doesn't suspect anything, but I will make he never find out about her. So, once we find the rest of the Morlocks, what your plans for them are? Sabretooth asked. These mutants are a result of my experiments, but yet I did not experiment on them. Whoever is responsible for modifying the Morlocks is using my methods. I want the Marauders to eliminate every member from adult to child. Once they are dead, then retrieve me their bodies so I can investigate on who is using my methods. Scalfunter has risen from his kneeling position with determination on his face. I have no problem with killing because it is my favorite pastime, but one of the Morlocks is a former X-Man. And his aunt is an active X-Man. He goes missing and that may leave some suspicions that will get her attention and the rest of the X-Men. Do you wish to handle this kid also or leave him alone? Sabretooth asked the mysterious shadow figure. If that boy gets in the way, I want you to kill him. If the X-Men come for looking him, then we will deal with them. I would love nothing more than to meet them when the time is right, especially two X-Men. Both Marauders nodded their heads and the left room, leaving the shadow figure alone in the room, his eyes glowing red and a diamond-shaped mark visible on his forehead glowing with a red aura. Back with Naruto and Kitty. Like, you know your history that you disclosed to us, it was like nothing I have heard before. Kitty said, talking to Naruto as they were watching the news on the television. Truly, I wasn't sure I was going to disclose that, but I figured why not and see how you guys can handle hearing that, but some you did well. It basically told me that some of you have experience dealing with things like that. Naruto said while paying attention to the reporter. Kitty nodded her head while still remember what he said about everything. Some part of her wanted to feel sorry about Obito because although he done some terrible things, she cannot help to feel sorry for him. Lately she has been questioning what she wants to do with her life now more than ever since the mutants crisis to humans has been rising. Her thoughts were interrupted when Naruto snorted loudly on what he is hearing. That man who is reporting this news is lying. Kitty looked confused on what he said. What do you mean? He is basically making accusation about the boy death pretending to care, but I can see his lies and seeing the real truth, and he is withholding information because his boss wants to say it likes this. Kitty looked at Naruto carefully while he stared directly at the reporter on the TV. Naruto picked up her concerns and smiled back at her. Sorry, I did not talk about it early, but ever since I was little, whenever a person lies while I'm listening to them, I can see the truth like a flood, information being directly sent to me like knowledge. It doesn't matter if lied a little or if they are unaware they are lying believing it to be the truth, I will know it is a lie and see the real truth. These abilities have saved my life since I was 6 years old, taking care of my baby sister on my own. Kitty looked puzzled until she registered the last part of him taking care of his baby sister on his own. Wait, you were 6 years old taking care of your baby sister? I know what you said about your father, but where was your mother? She died during Obito failed attack on my father right after she gave birth to me, which Kitty was trying to figure out how he has a sister if his mother and father were dead. Kitty, I understand why you want to go back. And he is out there on your world with your sister, and you don't know if she is alright or not. She said after listening explain about his sister. Naruto sighs. Kitty, there's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I miss my little sister, Katsumi. She's back in my world, and I haven't seen her in so long. I want to go back and be there for her like I have always. Kitty cried softly. Naruto, I can see how much you care about your sister. It's understandable that you miss her and want to be there for her. Your family is an important part of who you are. Naruto nods. Yeah, she means the world to me. We've been through so much together, and I want to make sure she's okay. But at the same time, I don't want to leave on the fly. It just would feel right, especially since I'm starting to get used to the idea of hanging around people I'm starting to feel comfortable around, he said, looking at her carefully with a small smile. Kitty cried, placing a comforting hand on Naruto's. Naruto, I want you to know that I understand your feelings and your desire to be with your sister. Family is a powerful bond, and it's crucial to be there for them. I support you in wanting to return to your world and be with Katsumi. Naruto would say something, but instead he smiled back, and it was in that moment that Warren Worthington III entered the room, getting both their attention. Kitty removed her hand from Naruto, much to his displeasure. Warren, did I interrupted something? He asked, noticing the awkwardness between them. Naruto and Kitty said nothing but looked at Warren in response. Warren, feeling uneasy with their stares, decided to cough and change the subject. Warren, you know, I nearly forgot why I came here. Hey Kitty, I was going to take the Blackbird and fly to New York City to do some patrol, and I was wondering if you wanted to come along. It would be perfect way to get your mind off of things because I heard you've been feeling down. Warren asked with a smile. Kitty, I don't know, maybe some other time. Kitty said, not sure of herself. Warren, I'll be meeting up with Thor. Warren said. Kitty, you're joking, right? Kitty asked, starting to feel excited. Warren, nope, I'm supposed to meet up with him because he wanted to talk to me about something, and after that we supposed to do some patrol together, and I remember you saying how cool it would be to meet him, so now this is a perfect opportunity to meet him. He said, baiting Kitty. Kitty started to smile a little, but then she turned around and looked at Naruto. Naruto felt very uneasy with her staring at him and her smile getting bigger. Something about her smile was giving him a warning. She walked up to him with her arms behind her back in a childlike manner where a child wants something from a parent. Kitty, hey Naruto, how would you like to meet a real thunder god? She asked him to try to be cute. Warren, hold on Kitty, I don't think that a good idea, he's still new here at this school. Warren tried warning her. Kitty, like come on pretty please with cherry on top. She said, clearly not heeding Warren's words and giving Naruto puppy dog's eyes. Naruto sighed to himself and remembered parting words from one of his sensei in denying women and what the outcomes are. 30 minutes later, the Black made its destination on a building rooftop in downtown Manhattan located at 48th Street and 10th Avenue, also known as Hell Kitchen. The hatchet doorway opened and two people in their X-Men universe walked out the X-Jet. Kitty, Well, we hear, Sue, where is Thor? Kitty asked Warren with excitement. Naruto. He will be here, and let me tell you that I do not agree with the decision to bring Naruto along. He is inexperienced, and Professor Xavier will not like this one bit if he finds out. Warren said with a disapproving look. Kitty, oh, lighten up, will you? It not like anything is going to go wrong. Hey, Naruto comes off the jet already, she said, calling Naruto. Naruto slowly exited the Blackbird. Angel took out a remote from his belt pocket and pushed the button. The Blackbird went invisible, and Naruto slowly walked up to them with a disapproving look across his face. The reason for the look is because he is wearing the standard X-Men uniform that trainees wear during training. Naruto, I look ridiculed. You guys go out on missions wearing this? Naruto asked, looking at his uniform with distaste. Remember, this Naruto is different from the canon Naruto, so he did not wear his traditional jumpsuit back on his world during missions. Warren, this is standard uniform for trainees. Only when you have proven yourself to be an X-Man that you will get an actual uniform of your choosing, plus this was only spare uniform on the X-Jet. Kitty, I don't think it looks ridicule on you, in fact you look really good in this uniform, Kitty said, eyeing him from head to toe with an approving look. Warren, before Thor get here, Naruto, Warren called out to him. Naruto turned his attention from his uniform to Angel. I need to know what your mutant power is. Naruto, I don't have anything flashy in what you may consider as born with powers type of thing, but I can heal faster than a normal person. I can also tell when a person or people are lying, no matter the lie or you believe it is the truth, but if it is a lie, regardless if you are aware of it or not, I will see the truth like a high-speed film being fed to my mind directly. The weird part is that no in my family have that ability. Everybody can heal faster, well, not as fast as me, but still fast. Again, it kinds of hard to say if my powers fall into the same subject as your people, because my people on my world can do things we call jutsu, so I don't know if it considers what you guys would call mutant powers, he answered and explained, impressing both of them. Kitty, maybe it likes a second mutation. I remember Professor McCoy saying it is possible to have multiple mutant powers. Warren, well, I don't think I met anyone with a stronger lie detector ability, Warren said, impressed, while Kitty watched Naruto, also wanting to know more on what he could do. Naruto, as I stated before about my people, I'm a shinobi, so I know ninjutsu, taijutsu and little bit of genjutsu. I'm good with wind-based attacks, but that's all I'm going to tell you. I mean, I must keep some ninja skills a secret. Naruto rubbing the back of his head while explaining. Kitty, what is taijutsu and genjutsu? Kitty asked with curiosity, which Warren also wanted to know. Naruto said nothing in return, and both X-Men sighed, knowing that he not going to tell them due to either trust issue or maybe it involved with ninja secrets. Naruto's attention was broken from them when he looked up at something in the sky. Warren and Kitty turned around and looked up where Naruto was looking at. In front of all three of them in the air was the self-proclaimed Thunder God himself. Thor landed in front of Kitty and Warren. Kitty was the only one really excited to see Thor, that she was nearly jumping up and down to show her excitement. Thor, friend Angel, it has been too long since we last met. Thor nearly crushing Angel with a bear hug. I cannot write Thor with his accent. I may have him say a few quotes with his accent, so for now just picture how Thor would talk. Warren, okay, enough Thor before you crush me to death, Warren said while being let go. Thor, my apology my friend, it just been so long since we have last met, what you civilians would say, a week. Thor apologized, but he turned his attention to the two other people present. Who are these two, my friend? Before Angel could say anything, Kitty was already introducing her. My name is Shadowcat, a friend of Angel, and let me be the first to say that it is an honor to meet someone like you. I have seen when you have took down that big ice giant that threatened to freeze New York City, and that time when you have fought that metal armor person and that guy dressed in green with the staff. I can't believe I'm in the presence of Thor himself. You are so cool and way better than Iron Man. Thor laughed at her excitement and placed his hand on Kitty's shoulder. It would appear I have a fan. I'm glad to be worthy of such praise. Any friend of Angel is a friend of mine's, so I take it you are here to do some patrol also. Kitty, but of course, if you don't mind, she said very eagerly. I wouldn't have it any other way. Before he could comment any further, Naruto was walking around him, nearly seizing him up. Kitty and Warren looked worried because they thought he was going to attack Thor like he almost did with Remy. They were ready to intervene, but what they saw happen next stopped them from moving. Naruto was kneeling in front of Thor, a behavior that appears to be out of respect for the Thunder God. Kitty and Warren stood still in shock because they did not know what to expect out of this. First he almost attacks Remy because of his eyes, and now he's bowing to Thor. Naruto Uzumaki, just who are you? Kitty thought to herself, feeling curious. Thor kneeled to Naruto level and placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto started to get up with Thor. Thor, please do not kneel for me, young one, I can tell you are not from this world. Thor said to Naruto, shocking both X-Men member that Thor was able to figure out that Naruto isn't from this world. Naruto, Kami-sama, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, a ninja from the village hidden in the leaves. When I was little, I have read tales of your adventure where you have chased the dark elves from my world. Could you be that same being that liberated my world centuries ago? Thor, so, you are from that world, the world where the dark elves has invaded and plunged it in constant war because they wanted the fruit of power left behind by that so-called mutant rabbit goddess. Thor has said while Naruto's nodded in confirmation. Kitty, wait a minute. You know what world he comes from? Kitty asked. Thor responded. Thor, Kami-sama, is there a way you can send me back to my world? Once Naruto asked that both X-Men look more shocked, but it was Kitty who looked the most shocked between herself and Warren. She wants what is best for Naruto, but a part of her did not want him to leave so quickly. Thor said nothing for a while but instead gave Naruto a hard look. Naruto did not take the look too well and back away a little in fear. Kami-sama, Naruto said in fear. Thor, listen to me well, young one, I normally have the power to transport myself or other with the aid Mjolnir here, but it has come to my attention that your world is shielded by some spell that prevent me and other Asgardians to transport there. My father, Odin, is looking into the matter and has been trying to conjunct a spell that can break it. Naruto, a spell that shield my world from outsider. Who has placed this spell upon my world? Was it recent? This could explain why I couldn't be reverse summoned. Naruto asked, growing angry. Thor, from what we gathered, this spell has been active for 200 years and the origin of the spell could not be determined except it was placed by that rabbit goddess, but we are not too sure about it. I'm sorry, but that's all I can tell you at this moment. Please forgive me, but you are stuck here on this planet for now. Thor said, feeling sad for him. Naruto dropped to his knee and punched the ground. So I'm stuck here while that bastard had the last laugh, his last dying laugh. Curse you, Madara Uchiha. He yelled out. Naruto, Kitty said, feeling powerless while Warren gave Naruto a pity look. Kaboom. All four of them looked toward the direction where that explosion has come from. Angel flew higher in the air and saw that a city bank was attacked. 4 costume men walked out the bank, 3 of them carrying weapons that looked like it has come from a construction company. Thor flew up next to Angel and recognized the criminals right away. Only Shadowcat asked the question that she, Angel, and Naruto wanted to know. Who are they? Vile criminals I never thought I would be seeing again so soon, the wrecking crew. Thor answered her. One of the criminal with a huge metal chain ball was swinging it and launched a weapon at an approaching police car, killing the driver before detaching the weapon from his dead body and flipping over the police car with the second policeman in it. Oh my god, he killed that man, Kitty screamed out. Naruto grew angry. He ran and launched himself off the roof, maneuvering himself from building to building before safely landing down to the ground. Thor took flight and joined Naruto down to the ground, while Angel flew down and picked up Kitty in a bridle position while catching up with the rest of them. Naruto, you guys stated that we were going to do some patrol. Allow me to join in this fight because I have some anger I want to unleash and bring them to justice. Naruto said, looking from a distance to see what the wrecking crew has done. Down on the street in front of Citibank. Well boys, we have hit it big this time. A man with a purple mask and a crowbar in his hand said while exiting the destroyed bank with a bag of money in his other hand. 2 other men came out with him holding bags of money also. Thunderball, was there any problem out here? Oh, just 2 police officers wanted to be heroes and one of them ended up dead because of me, Wrecker. The man now known as Thunderball said, spinning his weapon again and looking right at the surviving wounded police officer who has crawled from under the wrecked police car. At ease, Thunderball, Pilediver, finish off that man before we have any more unwanted interruption. Wrecker ordered while a man dressed in a white and red outfit dropped his 2 bags of money. He was slowly walking up to the police officer with his 2 fists now growing the size of 2 wrecking balls. He did not get any closer because a thunderbolt struck down in front of him. Pilediver jumped back and looked at where the attack has come from. "Stand down, Pilediver, and the rest of you surrender now," Thor ordered, now standing between Pilediver and the police officer. Angel was hovering above Thor while Shadowcat was safely pulling the wounded officer out the way of danger. Naruto now standing next to Thor with a serious look across his face, he was eyeing Thunderball intensely. "Wrecker, mighty Thor, who are you to command the wrecking crew? You know what, I don't like your tone. Boys, it is time to kill a Thundergod and his young friends, wreck them." Citizens started running in fear, knowing this is going to be a dangerous battle. The streets of New York City were bustling with the usual energy, but today, a dangerous confrontation was about to unfold. Naruto, Shadowcat, Angel, and Thor stood united, ready to face their formidable opponents, the wrecking crew. Outside a city bank, chaos loomed as the criminals reveled in their ill-gotten gains. The wrecking crew, a group known for their immense strength and destructive capabilities, towered over the heroes. Bulldozer charged forward, his massive frame shaking the ground beneath him. Piledriver and Thunderball flanked him, radiating a menacing aura. Wrecker, the leader of the crew, brandished his enchanted crowbar, ready to wreak havoc. Naruto's eyes sharpened with determination as he unleashed his signature shadow clones, surrounding the crew with their numbers. With incredible speed and agility, he darted between them, striking with precise blows, his fists crackling with chakra. The clones engaged Bulldozer, employing a coordinated assault to exploit his limited mobility. Kitty Pryde phased through solid matter, her mutant ability allowing her to move with intangibility. She deftly maneuvered around the crew, evading their brutal attacks. With a flick of her wrist, she unleashed her phasing abilities to disrupt the crew's coordination, causing their strikes to pass harmlessly through her. Angel took to the air, his majestic wings spreading wide. He soared above the chaos, diving down with swift precision. His razor-sharp feathers sliced through the air, striking Thunderball with pinpoint accuracy. With each strike, he aimed to weaken the crew's defenses and create openings for his allies. Thor, the god of thunder, wielded his mighty hammer Mjolnir, calling upon the power of storms. Lightning crackled and thunder roared as he summoned the full force of his divine abilities. Bolts of electricity surged through the air, striking the wrecking crew, enveloping them in a storm of power. Amidst the clash of fists, the heroes' teamwork shone through. Naruto's clones provided distractions and additional strikes, while Kitty's phasing abilities disrupted the crew's attacks. Angel's aerial assaults kept the villains off balance, while Thor's lightning bolts rained down with devastating force. The battle raged on, the heroes combining their unique abilities and strengths. The wrecking crew fought with relentless ferocity, but the heroes' unwavering resolve pushed them forward. Each blow landed with purpose, wearing down the crew's defenses and forcing them onto the back foot. Finally, with a final coordinated assault, the heroes incapacitated the wrecking crew, their collective efforts proving too formidable for the criminals to withstand. As the dust settled, the city streets once again fell into a calm silence, the heroes standing victorious amidst the debris. Their teamwork and unwavering determination had prevailed. Naruto, Kitty, Angel, and Thor had defended New York City from the wrecking crew, their combined strength and unique abilities showcasing the true power of their unity. Naruto slowly walking up to the unconscious wrecking crew, his hands were glowing with chakra energy. "Naruto, you killed that man in cold blood using those weapons of yours. A quick kill through his chest when he wasn't ready to do battle with you, you have no honor. So, in return I should end your life, but I won't, because you are not worth it," he said with his hand no longer glowing. Kitty let go a breath she wasn't aware she was holding in. For a moment she thought he was going to kill him, but now she wants to know what made him change his mind. Kitty was having second thoughts of bringing him to New York City, but at the same time she couldn't help but to be thankful that he did show up with them when she asked him to. Her thoughts came to an end when a big helicarrier made its presence known in the sky. It releases a small helicopter with a bird-like symbol with a shield on it. Kitty recognized the symbol and knew this was going to be very hard to explain to the one person in that helicopter. She looks toward Warren, and he nodded his head, a sign stating that he will try his best to defuse any situation that may happen. Naruto was backing up and readying himself, thinking that what he is seeing is another attack that going to happen, but before he could attack, Kitty ran up to him. "Kitty, wait, they are not the bad guys," signaling him to stay down. "Naruto, but who are they, because I can sense aggression coming from within that thing." He pointed at the helicopter now landing on the ground a couple feet from the heroes. "Kitty, they are a secret organization that worked for the government of this country. Their jobs is to protect this country and its people from any threats within or outside the country. They are called SHIELD, think of them as the super police that need to maintain peace at all costs," Kitty said, with SHIELD officers exiting the vehicle and rounding up the wrecking crew. One man Kitty recognized as among them, with another man she never saw before. This second man wore a purple and black outfit and a mask with a bow and quiver across his back. Naruto watched as Thor and Angel was talking to the first man. To Naruto, he can tell that this old man with the eye patch was angry while the other guy with him looks amused. Naruto walked away toward a bench and sat down on it while he watched these SHIELD officers drag the wrecking crew with handcuffs on their wrists onto the vehicle. Kitty walked up to him and sat next to him. There were so many questions she wanted to ask, like why he didn't kill that guy. "Naruto, that ability of yours, were you born with it or is it a part of another mutation?" Naruto asked her because he saw her uses her powers in battle, but he stayed focused with the task on hand. "Kitty, what do you mean? My power was with me since I was born. I don't think I understand what you are trying to say," Kitty said with confusion. "Naruto, that phasing ability that you have, it belongs to a very bad man from my world," he said with a grim look across his face. "Kitty, what did he do to you?" she asked him with a worried look across his face. Naruto looked away instead of answering her. She caught his face with her hands and slowly turned him to face her. He can tell just by looking at her that she was worried. She was worried for him, and he could not comprehend why she was worried. Kitty Pride, seeing the flicker of sadness in Naruto's eyes, approached him with genuine concern. She understood that witnessing her powers may have triggered memories of Obito Uchiha, someone Naruto had a complicated history with. Wanting to reassure him, she gently reached out to him. "Kitty Pride, Naruto, I noticed you had a reaction when you saw me using my powers. I can see it reminded you of Obito Uchiha, and I understand that might bring up difficult emotions. But please know that just because our abilities are similar doesn't mean our intentions or the way we use them are the same." She spoke softly to him. Naruto, still guarded, responded, "Why do you care, Kitty? It's not easy for me to forget what happened with Obito. I don't want anyone else to go down the same path." Kitty Pride, Naruto, I care because I see the pain it brings you. But it's important to remember that everyone is an individual. Our powers may be alike, but we are different people with our own choices and actions. I want to show you that not all who possess similar abilities are destined for darkness," she said kindly. Naruto, feeling hesitant, started to find his voice again. "I understand what you're saying, but it's hard to let go of those memories. Obito was someone I cared about, and he chose a path that led to so much suffering." Kitty Pride, Naruto, I can't change what happened with Obito, but I can show you who I am. I strive to use my powers for good, to protect and help others. It's not about the abilities we possess but the choices we make. I want to be there for you, to support you, and show you that similarities don't define our paths. Naruto, it's just hard, you know. I've been hurt before, and it's made me wary," he said, starting to soften up around her. Kitty Pride, Naruto, I understand your caution, and I won't ask you to forget or ignore what happened. But I hope you can also see that not all similarities bring pain. We can learn from our past experiences, but we shouldn't let them define our present or future. Together, we can create our own story, one that transcends the shadows of the past," she said with compassion, a trait she is good at. Naruto, you're right, Kitty. I shouldn't let the actions of one person tarnish my view of others. I'll try to give you a fair chance and judge you based on who you are," he said, starting to feel better and calmer. Kitty Pride, smiling at him, responded with, "Thank you, Naruto. I appreciate your openness. We're all shaped by our past, but we also have the power to shape our future. Let's focus on the present and build something positive together. Please keep in mind we must never give up. Never give up. You know, you reminded me of someone I knew," he said, which she has stopped crying and looked at him on why she reminded him of someone he knew. Naruto, throughout my whole 17-year life I had only two friends, one who is just like me when it comes to carrying a burden and the other one, well, he more like a big brother to me. Naruto said that last part with sadness, which Kitty picked up on. What has happened to him? Kitty asked him. Naruto. He was killed. As part of a forced conspiracy involving his clan and the village I lived in. Kitty's eyes grew wide before her face became sad. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked that. Naruto shook his. There is no need to apologize because he died protecting me from Obito and other responsible for starting a huge war on my planet. And Obito is the same guy who has the same powers as me. She asked, trying to understand. Naruto. Yeah, but it was his master who made sure I was sent to this world. He is from a clan that have these red and black eyes called the Sharingan. Naruto answered her question, clenching his fist. Toget. So that why you snapped at Remy? Naruto nodded to her. His eyes look similar to the Sharingan except his eyeball was pitch black and he was missing the Tomo symbols on the iris of his eyes. I did not mean to threaten him, but every time I think of the Sharingan, I think of what has happened back on my world and it just made me angry to no end. Kitty, I'm sorry, I can see why you didn't want to talk about it, but keeping that pain in will only hurt you more. Kitty said with compassion. Naruto. I know. A shinobi must endure no matter what, that is what it means to be a shinobi, because we must endure all the hardships and pain. He said, remembering the code. Kitty, you could have killed that man for what he has done and yet you didn't. Why do you think you hold back? Kitty asked, wanting to know why he went easy on his opponent. I was going to kill him. Naruto answered. Kitty, then why didn't you go through with it? She asked, still holding his face inches away from her own face. Naruto. I sensed your fear. You were scared because you saw him killed that man. And I didn't want to kill that guy in front of you, add to your fear, because it would have been your first time witnessing a cold-blooded murder. Back on my world that guy would have been executed for killing an unarmed person, but it was clear to me that your world has a different set of rules. Kitty. Wait, you can read my emotions, are you a telepath? Kitty asked, a little taken back by what he has said. Naruto. No, I'm not a telepath. Any trained shinobi can read their opponents by their movement. I'm a little different because I can sense negative feelings and fear is one of them, that a trait most ninjas can do. Normally a sensory shinobi can read another person by their chakra based on what he or she is emitting. Naruto explained. Kitty, but like you were able to read Nick Fury's emotions and he isn't a ninja. Well, he is a super spy from what Logan told us, but not a ninja. She pointed toward the man with the eye patch arguing with Thor and Angel. Naruto. You don't have to be a shinobi to have chakra. Chakra exists in all living things. You only trained as a shinobi to manipulate chakra to your bidding, and with the correct hand signs you can perform any jutsu, but you're going to need a lot of stamina to perform the strong jutsu. By the way, you are still holding my face. He said, which Kitty blushed and let go of his face. Kitty. So, you created copies of yourself are a sign of ninjutsu. Naruto nodded to her question. Okay, and this is something you can do, or can the people of your world can do the same thing? Naruto. Yeah, if they aren't taught that technique they can, but it takes a lot of chakras to use. Kitty. If it would be alright to ask about chakra. She asked. Naruto. Sure, chakra is an energy that exists within every living being. It flows through our bodies, connecting us to the world around us. In my world, it's a fundamental aspect of ninjutsu and our abilities. Kitty leaning forward, intrigued. So, it's like a life force or an energy source. Naruto nodding. Exactly. Chakra is generated by combining two types of energy. Physical energy, derived from our body's stamina, and spiritual energy, which comes from our emotions and mental state. By harmonizing these energies, we can access and manipulate chakra for various purposes. Kitty raising an eyebrow. Manipulate. What do you mean? Naruto starting to smile before explaining. Well, it's versatile. We can use chakra to enhance our physical capabilities, like running faster or jumping higher. But it goes beyond that. With proper training, we can mold chakra into different forms, such as elemental attacks or defensive barriers. It allows us to perform incredible feats. Kitty feeling impressed. That's fascinating. It sounds like chakra grants you incredible abilities. How do you control it? Naruto started to pause, considering his response before answering. Control can be a challenge, especially in the beginning. It requires practice and focus. We learn to gather and circulate chakra through specific pathways called chakra points. By manipulating these points, we can control the flow and direct chakra to our desired outcome. Kitty, so, it's not just about having chakra, it's also about harnessing and directing it effectively. Naruto, absolutely. It takes time to develop the necessary control and precision. But with training and experience, we can master the art of chakra manipulation and unleash its full potential. Kitty, Naruto, it's amazing to see the depth of your world and the unique abilities you possess. Thank you for sharing this with me. It's a whole new understanding of energy and power. She said smiling. Naruto, I'm glad I could explain it to you. Chakra is an integral part of who I am and the world I come from. It's exciting to share this knowledge with you and see your genuine interest. Kitty, well, I'm grateful that you didn't kill him. X-Men aren't taught to kill, we supposed to show our opponent mercy, we sort of peacekeepers. Kitty explained while looking straight where Angel is slowly approaching them. Naruto, that is a foolish rule, but I think I can understand what the old man is trying to achieve using that type of rule. Naruto said looking toward Angel approaching them. Kitty, why do you say that, Naruto? Kitty asked, wondering what made him say something like that. Naruto, the old man, Xavier, he wants to believe by showing his opponents mercy that he hopes his opponents will one day reform and see the error of their ways. But what about the opponents who does not want to reform and enjoys being evil? You know the type of opponents that get off on hurting others. Show them mercy and they will feel offended and will come after you in a different way, usually going after the ones you care for. Naruto explained. Kitty said but start to think on what he said because she can think of people like that, and Mystique and Sabretooth came to mind. You wouldn't be the first to question the motives of Professor Charles Xavier. Some of the X-Men has been voicing for a more tougher approach when it has come to dealing with some of our dangerous enemies as of lately. Angel said, now entering the conversion between the two. Kitty looked up at Angel with a shock expression. No way, are you telling me some of us want to go out and kill our enemies? Warren. Yes, Scott, Xavier and I are against the idea of killing our enemies. Naruto, I understand you are a shinobi that comes from a world where your enemies doesn't get away with the crime they have committed and that may be acceptable from where you come from because your government allowed that. But here on this world the X-Men does not work for the government, therefore we cannot kill our enemies without probable cause. If we start going around killing people then we cannot teach his people the dream of mutants and humans living together. We must never cross that line, otherwise we are no better than our villains, Angel explained. I just hope something like that doesn't come back to haunt you, but like I said I can understand what you are trying to achieve. Naruto said. So, what is going to happen now? That man doesn't look so happy. For now, we are heading back to the school. Warren said. What, but why? Kitty protested. Because Nick Fury just gave me intel that Professor Xavier needs to hear. Warren said with a serious tone with no room of argument. Elsewhere at a train station. Keep calm, Tommy, just keep calm. You got away so that dangerous man is no longer following you. I just need to get through the sewers and meet up with Sunder and the other Morlocks. The female mutant known as Tommy was thinking to herself while pushing through citizens and trying to head toward the end of train so she can escape through the subway tunnels and into the sewers. Unknown to her she passed right through a huge blonde guy resembling a wolf man. The man turned toward her direction and smiled while sniffing the air. He pressed a button on his earpiece before speaking. I have made contact, hurry over to my position otherwise you going to miss all the fun. Creed, there no need for that because the rest of Marauders are here. A voice said from behind. Sabretooth turned around and eyed each of the Marauders. From the two he already knows is Scalfunter and Arclight, a mutant who possesses the ability to generate seismic energies with her hands that cause shock waves and geotremors. She also has superhuman strength, stamina, durability and resiliency, although some part of him is wondering how she's still alive and is not an old woman. Riptide, a mutant who can spin like a tornado and project throwing knives to shed his enemies. Vertigo, a mutant with the ability to project waves of psionic energy into her environment which affect the nervous systems of other living beings, distorting their physical perceptions and sense of balance. Prism, a crystal humanoid mutant who is able to refract most forms of energy directed at him, including ambient light. He is also capable of storing light within his body, using it as a form of illumination or as a means of blinding his opponents. Harpoon, a mutant who could charge his metal spears with his own bioenergy for various effects, such as shocking or stunning his opponents. He was also exceptionally skilled in using his spears as weapons, both in melee combat and as thrown projectiles. And the last two is someone Sabretooth is very familiar with. One is a beautiful older woman who appears in her mid-30s with brown long hair and dressed in black leather and a necklace around her neck. This woman is called Malice, and beside her is a young teenaged girl with long green hair and devoid of any emotions. The older woman had her arms around the child like she was her toy. Creed knew in his heart that if Magneto ever found out about the girl, he will be dead before he can think of an excuse. Malice, and her name is Polaris, Victor, the woman said with a twisted smile. Scalfunter walked up to Sabretooth with Arclight by his side and looked toward the tunnel. Did you get the scent? I did, but I thought we were going in with a full roster. Creed asked him. Blockbuster, Chimera, Scrambler and Vanisher will be heading to our position soon enough once they have taken care of our non-mutants problem. Scalfunter explained. Fury. So, his little attack dogs are aware of what we are planning to do. Sabretooth said with angry. Yes, our intel stated that Fury is sending these newly put together team to investigate Harpoon's adventure in LA. The other Marauders is to slow them down as possible until we finished here with these Morlocks before moving over to Bayville. What do we know about this team Fury is sending in? Creed asked. Instead of Scalfunter answering, Arclight chose to answer in his stead. They called themselves the Avengers, and the members consist of Iron Man, Hawkeye, Thor, Wasp, Ant-Man, Black Widow, and the living legend himself, Captain America. She said, shocking Victor upon hearing the last name. That is impossible. Rogers can't be walking around. The Operation Rebirth should have kept him on ice. We don't have time to wonder the impossible. Sabretooth led us to our praise. Scalfunter ordered, which he earned a growl from him. Sabretooth jumped down onto the tracks with the rest of present Marauders following him. An hour later, back at Charles Xavier's office. Angel just finished telling the following people present in Charles Xavier's office. Besides Xavier, the ones who were present are Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, Beast, Colossus, Shadowcat and Naruto. Xavier. This is disturbing news. So Fury believed that there is a mutant hunting group chasing after a mutant from Los Angeles to New York City. I need to find this mutant using Cerebro. Xavier said with fear in his voice. Scott. Professor, what should we do? Scott asked, awaiting his orders. Xavier closed his eyes while weighing his options in his head. Scott. Logan takes the following X-Men in this room and head to New York City and try to make contact with the Morlocks there. I will navigate your coordinate using Cerebro. Yes, Professor. Chuck. Both Scott and Logan replied at the same time. Professor, what about Naruto? Kitty asked, wondering if she could get him to come with them back to New York City. Xavier. I'm afraid I'm going to have to deny your request. Xavier said. Kitty. But Professor, she tried protesting but was cut off by the Professor. No, Kitty, Naruto is not an X-Man, so he isn't ready to deal with any threats. I did not bring Naruto from Muir Island to be a member of the X-Men. Warren. I have to disagree with you, Professor. I've seen Naruto in action up close against the Wrecking Crew and he held his own well like any hero would. Warren tried reasoning with him. The answer is no. He may have taken down one member of the Wrecking Crew, but what would happen if he went against an opponent he has no experience against? The Professor countered Angel's argument. If it's possible, I want to go with them. Everybody turned their attention toward Naruto. Jean decided to voice her concern. Are you sure? What happens if you get hurt? Naruto. I heal faster than a normal person, so I doubt I can be killed so easy. I want to go because I want to see for myself what this world has to offer. Especially after learning I can't return to my world because of an ancient spell. However, I won't join you on this mission as an X-Man, because I'm not too convinced what you are doing is worth fighting for. He finished saying, shocking everyone in the room. Thank you for listening. I do hope you guys enjoy. If you guys enjoyed this, what if you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notifications, and also check out the other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.